Welcome to CaCo Talks, the weekly podcast where conversations about life, hot topics, mental health, and more take center stage. We are your hosts, Catelyn and Courtney Geiger.
Together, we explore thought-provoking discussions with an ambient vibe that inspires open and honest dialogue. So sit back, relax, and join us for some insightful conversation that will leave you feeling informed and inspired.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to CaCo Talks. Tonight, we're having an amazing conversation all about pets and domesticated animals. Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Tonight, we are discussing, as you heard, all things pets and domesticated animals, which I'm pretty excited about because we never really talked about animals and like the environment and, non-human subjects. So yeah, it should be fun for sure. I mean, we should probably start by discussing our personal history with having domesticated animals and pets.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Well, the thing is, I really didn't like pets growing up, so that's quite interesting. Okay, so the first pet I think we had was were the fish.
Mm-hmm. We were little.
This is when Walmart used to sell fish. We got fish from Walmart. Probably not healthy, but okay. I think we had 4 fish, maybe.
This thing used to be like $2 each, so mom would get us a bunch of them.
Yeah, they were really cheap. But I think, was it 4 or was it more?
I know we had a couple. I know we at least had 3, but we probably had 4, maybe 5.
Yeah. I don't know. We had some fish, okay? A lot of them passed away, but I do remember distinctly we had blue and pink. And blue and pink were a blue and pink fish. So yeah, they lived for a little bit. We thought one, I think, died and then it kind of came back to life, or either mom replaced it, one of the two.
Yeah.
And then that was our first little pet fish. Next thing we had was, I think we had Kelvin, which was a dog that we found outside of the local pet store right up the street from our house. They were giving away free puppies. And so at the place where we were living, I think we couldn't have pets, or you had to pay a pet fee, and my mom was not about that life. So we took him to live on our granddad's farm. So he lived on the farm, and his name was Kelvin. And he was I think he was like a German Shepherd or something mix. He was some type of mix. Big dog, pretty cool dog, very social dog. You had to be careful because if he would hop on you, because he would try to run and jump up on you, and plus he was an outside dog, but he would get so excited and try to run and jump up on you, but he would knock kids over. So
yeah,
be careful with Kelvin.
He got big quickly.
Oh, quickly. My guy was like the height that I am now standing up. So what else do we have? I think after Kelvin,
that's when we started rabbits.
Yeah, that's when we started rabbits. And these are all of our personal animals. Our granddad had a farm, so he had a whole bunch of animals too. I will mention my granddad had, I think it was cows. We named Mary Kate and Ashley. So shout out to us. And what else? I think he had other animals too, but I don't really remember those animals. I do remember the cows and the horses, but yeah. What else? Next, we personally had bunnies. So our very first bunny was Oreo. He was a mini Rex. He was white and gray. And he was a boy.
We had him for a while.
Yeah, we had him for a pretty long time. I think it was 6-7 years probably. The next animal we got was Little Mama. Little Mama was a rescue. She was a Dutch. And we had her for maybe 3 years. Huh?
I think she was a discounted rate, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she was, because we rescued her. So she was, she was either free or and I want to put a disclaimer out there. Me and Courtney should not have had animals because we did not know how to take care of animals. And so we should not have had animals, period.
They lived for a while, despite the fact that we were little kids.
Yeah. And but let's be honest. I think also education wasn't as readily available then too for
that too. Yeah.
Bunnies. And so now with more education and research and more populated with, rabbits being household animals, I think that there's more information available. Like then it really wasn't. So, and I think that was like early times of like the internet. So like it wasn't just like type it in and just go see what's out there. So
Yeah.
I mean, we still had like the damn box computers for a while. So.
And then we had Sable and Midnight, which were like,
yeah, then we had
those
Sable
were
and Midnight.
impulse bunnies. I hate to say it, but they were.
They were what?
They were like impulse bunnies.
Yeah, they were impulse. Yeah, it was, we should have never had them. And we did not have them for long because they grew big, and Sable was a brown lop, and he was very violent. Due to, I think, circumstances and hormones, and
we couldn't wash them, let them out too long. We couldn't wash them the way they needed to. Like they had so much pent up like anger.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to like stretch their legs. Part of it was because we were just so like busy too. Like we would go to school all day, and then we had to come home, like do homework and stuff like that. So we were not giving them the time and attention that they deserved and or needed. Let alone they lived in our garage, and it was hot as fuck in there. And they were not fixed. So add that in there too.
So it was just like
hot mess.
Too much.
Yeah. And like I said, that's why I made a disclaimer earlier. We should have never had these animals. Okay. And then what else did we have? After we gave Sable and Midnight away at some point. That was
one thing I think we did right. We were like, okay, let's give them back.
Yeah, we decided to give them back to the place that we purchased them from, just because it was no longer a safe environment for them to be with us. I mean, we were not even providing them or anything close to what they deserved. So we decided to give them back to the place that we purchased them. So yeah. And then what else happened? Okay. So after all of that, little mama had passed away at some point. Oreo had passed away at some point. And so I rebound and got Owen. And Owen was a lion head, probably lop mix, and sweetest guy, softest little guy ever. Had him for almost 9 years, which his bunny anniversary just went by. And his birthday is coming up soon, so there's that. What else?
He was in the house with us for 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, and then he eventually like stayed with my mama in the beginning parts of my college, and then he moved down to where I went to college, and then he came to the early parts of where I live now. So he was a trooper. And then now,
Courtney, these are our most remembered pet. I mean,
oh, for sure, yeah. He definitely is like the person the bunny or the animal I had the strongest bond with, for sure.
And then you have Ocean and Ozzy. Oh, and you got Mavis during the time you had Owen.
What'd you say?
You had Mavis during the time you had Owen.
Yeah, okay. So during the time I had Owen and I was in college, I got Mavis. And so Mavis is a black cat. And I got her because I almost ran over her on the way to school to study for my nursing exam. And so that's how I got Mavis. And I had a really hard time because I was supposed to take her to a shelter, but I was like, I just can't do this. I just cannot do it. So she ended up staying, got a free cat, and love her to death. Doesn't really care for me, but I love her. And then what else? I think that's all the pets. Is that all of them? Am I missing anything?
And then Ocean and Ozzy.
Okay, yeah, Ocean and Ozzy. Okay, so there's Lloyd. Significant other brought Lloyd into the picture. Lloyd is he's a wannabe Rottweiler, but he's not. He's really cute and fluffy. And then maybe we can like post a picture of them in the video on YouTube. And then now I currently have Ozzy and Ocean, and they are my current bunnies. Ozzy is... We don't really know what Ozzy and Ocean are, right? We think that Ocean is probably some sort of maybe lion head and or mixed with Angora or something like that, because he has a lot of hair. He has like a mane, but it only kind of grows in like right behind his head kind of thing. So, and he has a very long face and big body bends. So that's Ocean. Ocean has really big ears too and big feet, very, very big ears and feet, which I heard there's like speculation, like the size of their feet are like the size of their ears. I don't know if that's true because Ozzy doesn't really measure up, but whatever. And then we have Ozzy. Ozzy is our little dwarf. He literally looks like a smaller version of, like an extremely smaller version of Ocean. It's like copy and paste, but dwarf. So yeah, that's Ozzy. He is the feisty one. He's the one that runs the house at the moment, and he is very bossy, demanding. Another thing about bunnies don't have boundaries. No, bunnies just don't have boundaries. So yeah. So Courtney, what's your take on all the pets?
Well, I tell Catelyn all the time she has a zoo. So, as you notice, I stopped talking this conversation because I don't have none. So, I mean, I think it's great. Like, I think pets is really like a staple in Catelyn's life, and that's really great. And I'm happy to be a fur auntie. But I don't know how I feel about personally taking on a pet right now, just because I know the weight of the responsibility.
True.
And
That's
I don't
fair.
want to, not be able to totally give what a pet would need from me. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, looking back, I'm like, dang, we have had some pets then. We really have had
Yeah,
pets.
we have. And you want to explain why we got, like, when we first got the bunny as a pet?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was cute because I was the one who pushed for it. I thought
Yeah.
it was cute, but it was also, it kind of became emotional support just because we were going through so much with our like parental at the time. So he became kind of emotional support. And we were not supposed to have him because the place we were living did not allow pets. But eventually we moved out of there, so the pet came with us, and I think that was a better situation for the pet. But yeah, that's what I would say, like how we kind of got into bunnies, and then we always loved the bunnies. Whether we were really taking care of them fully, questionable. Like we just didn't know, but we always loved them.
Facts.
It was never for lack of like not loving them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true.
It was just like it was like.
And another thing about Oreo was he was a runt, so he was really tiny at first, like really small, very like not fragile, if you will. And so I honestly didn't really care for Oreo, to be honest, because I just did, like, he was so small, and it was so like, it was just like, why would you want that? Like, why would you want that rocking around your house, to be honest? And so I eventually, obviously, I became very attached to Oreo. There's a lot of O's. We stick with the O's for the boys. So there was a lot of, I really enjoyed having Oreo around. We had a great bond. And eventually we got Little Mama. That's why we got Little Mama, because that was for me. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all started. Little Mama, at some point, she like eventually like had babies. None of them made it because I think she was just really small. And she came from a traumatic experience in the first place. And so I don't think she was very, I don't know about her mental health when it came to parenting, if you will. So,
yeah, for sure. And also, I think the environment we were keeping them in, they were like mostly in the garage, which is like, you know, in South Carolina during the summer, that's really hot or it can get really cold. So I just felt like we were like not paying attention to the sensitivities that a rabbit needs. Like you got to really be paying attention to a lot with a rabbit, I think. And, those changes affect them, and we were little kids trying to like, we were still in school. So we spent most of our day at school and then we would go to like aftercare and like all that stuff. So, and then like activities and sports and stuff. So I would say the bunny who got probably the best attention was Owen.
Facts.
For us, because we were older teenagers by the time we got him. We were like 17, almost 18 when we got Seriously? Owen. So we ended up having we had a much better understanding. And we were like really, after Oreo's passing, because we never thought about them dying. We never thought, you know what I mean? Like as kids, we were like, oh, it's our bunny. We're going to have him forever. But when he passed away suddenly, we were like, oh no, we got to really pay attention. And so, I hate to say it, but Owen benefited, I think, from that shift in mentality.
Facts. Oh, for sure. And I think by the time that Owen was brought into our lives, he had, there was more like information also readily available. We had then like figured out what you can and cannot do with bunnies. as far as like just personal experience. So I think that also made a difference too.
And Owen was like a little prince. He was definitely like more doted on, I will say, out of all the animals.
Seriously, no, he was very spoiled.
So, he was a part of all of the family activities, I would definitely say.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of our like personal history with animals. I mean, I think Catelyn lives with animals day to day, so her understanding of them is a little bit more in depth. But
yeah, I'm sure Courtney told you I have a zoo, so I really do though.
But okay, so what do you think about like just the whole idea of domesticated animals in the first place, like companion animals?
So okay, well, obviously I'm a fan because I have so many, but I do think that I'm okay with it because they are domestic. I would never want to take an animal that is in the wild and make them domesticated or captive or whatever, because I think that they are more in touch with the instinctive side of being the animal that they are. Obviously, I do understand that the animals that are domesticated came from some sort of, being held captive kind of thing, right? But I'm okay with the whole concept of like emotional support animals. Now, I do think there is a misconception when it comes to emotional support animals. These fuckers are not emotional support, okay? They are emotional responsibilities, okay? So, sure, it's like something nice and cute to cuddle on, but they still expect their food at 6 o'clock. They expect their walks at 9 o'clock. They expect their hay to be in their bins all day in fresh hay, or they will cause havoc. They will tear your crap up, So it really is more like caring for toddlers than it is like the emotional support that you like get, which I mean, it could be just like my pets because not all of them are very caring. Actually, none of them, but I don't know if it's the pick that I have or if it's all animals, because all the animals I've had, they care more, especially bunnies. They care more about their needs. They're very selfish. They don't have boundaries. So.
Well, I think also the whole idea of an emotional support animal is kind of like a newer concept. Like we weren't they were just pets. Companions, I guess, was like best, but nobody was really talking about them in the sense of like what an emotional support animal can do for the, human. So
Very
yeah,
true.
the first time I really heard emotional support, I was in college.
Really?
And I remember being like, not all these people walking around with dogs for emotional support. What? Because they would allow, they're considered like service dogs. So they would allow emotional support animals on campus. And I just remember like from like sophomore year to junior year was like everybody had a dog.
That's fair. I don't really remember like, people would have animals on campus, but they wouldn't really like walk around campus with it. So I guess I just like didn't really like, they may have like a cat just in their dorm room or whatever, but to be just like walking around with it, I don't remember like
dogs
that
are
a lot.
class.
Unless they like brought it on campus. I remember that, but I don't know. I don't.
I also stayed on campus all 4 years, so maybe that's why. But like I mean, people would bring their dogs to everything, class, seminars, events, everything.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, we definitely didn't bring them to class. That's peculiar.
Nope, they would bring their dogs.
Would the dog like sit there and be patient?
Yeah. They always had like well-behaved dogs, so I mean, I think if you bring them to class, you do have to like obviously show paperwork and be like, this is an emotional support animal. I need it at all times, kind of thing, or whatever. Or like if you have a service dog or whatever, obviously if you're like handicapped in some way, then obviously have a service dog. But no, I took like plenty of classes with dogs.
Wow, I that is news to me.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
And then where I live now, dogs are allowed in stores and dogs are allowed everywhere. And it's very odd because coming from back home, you didn't bring dogs in stores.
Oh no. I agree. I do take the dog that I have now. I do take him places. And the reason why I take him places cuz he just needs to be trained in like public places. He has a little bark temper on him. So I do try to like take him places like to the pet store. He hates the pet store though. So I try to take him, like I'll take him to Target. Or I don't try to take him in the grocery stores. I do think that's kind of gross. But I do take him to like stores that it doesn't, like it's not unsanitary to like take him in,
Your
he's
dogs
been
be
in
all
like
up in the grocery
Marshalls,
store,
TJ
dude.
Maxx and stuff.
Half the population at any point in time where I'm at is a dog. It's a four-legged creature.
I can see that. Yeah, but you live in good old no man's land.
People, I don't know what it is. I'm like, I didn't realize this would be such an obscure difference, but it really is. It's like there's like little barrier with pets for all walks of life.
Yeah,
I mean, the more
I like wonder like what's the
places
difference
typically
like
want,
living
but
there versus anywhere else, because
I
like you
don't
said, it's
know.
not very socially acceptable here.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because of emotional support animals and this just being a more progressive environment and people seeing it as like, oh, or it's a more relaxed environment here, so it's like bring your dog or whatever, and they see it as like an extension of themselves, or like they think the dog is kind of like, oh, this would be great for Jimmy or whatever. But for me, it was
Not the
like,
dog's name
what?
is Jim. Yeah.
Or like, what are dogs' names? Fido,
Tucson. Yeah.
But yeah, like they'll bring their little dog or whatever. And I mean, usually they're small enough where they stay out of the way. But
usually, especially those little yappy ones, babes.
Yeah. Now there's lots of designer dogs here too, which is like wild to me too, because it's like not only do you have a dog in like Ralph's or wherever, but you got a freaking little designer Pomsky, like half breed beast.
Yeah, designer Pomsky child.
Like that's really what they be like. I'm like, I know people pay more for these dogs than they do kids. Like some people I know they really put a lot into these dogs. I know they do.
I mean, I think so do you think that like pets should be considered like people's children?
I don't have a problem with. I think they should, because I'm like, to be honest, like if we think about like times we've seen in the wild where animals have adopted other animals and like raised them, right? I think that they can be seen as like offspring. I think the only potential issue is like, okay, if you spoil your dog that much, then you would probably spoil your child that much. Like,
I mean, it's cheaper to have an animal than a dog, though.
Yeah, I think it is cheaper to have an animal than a child, but the thing I run into is like a lot of y'all's, the way your dog runs you, I know you don't need to have a child, because imagine if this little person had to grow, if you were like responsible for raising someone.
Okay, so what, you have the same opinion about me and my pets?
Well, transparency moment. I think Owen got away with murder.
That's fair.
I think you're a little bit better on Ocean and Ozzy now.
Because there's two of them. Like, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you're a little more disciplinarian with them. But I just think Owen got away with murder. And like some of the stuff was like, he knew exactly what he was doing and did it. And because like any space that was like yours, he like claimed as his totally. It was like, who's in charge?
He claimed me as his. I was like his property. Let's be honest. His
That's
maid.
I was like, who really was in charge of the space? It's like he let you in.
It really wasn't me, I guess.
That's all I'm saying. That was my only critique about like the relationship with Owen, him specifically. But
so what about the other ones?
I think you're a little more like, you don't allow Ocean and Ozzy to feel like it's totally their space. I think.
Yeah. It's
like
much easier. It's like kind of like having an only child,
Yeah. You still
like it's harder to teach them like
house.
Yeah, it's harder to teach them like boundaries and stuff like that, because it's just like you're the only one.
Yeah.
And they don't have to share. They don't have to like have any other regard for any other life. It's just like all about me, 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 me. So, and that's how Owen was. Like, Owen was all about him. All about him.
And he was just used to commanding space.
Yeah, and people and things. Which, like, he was a looker, you know, so it's easy for him.
But I mean, I think that was like the one thing you did want to change between coming from Owen to the rabbits you have now, is like, it's healthy to set boundaries with your animals, to be perfectly honest. And honestly,
that's definitely one thing I actively do with especially with the current buns. It's like trying to get them, and like I said, like there's more at stake here because the bunnies that I currently have, they're both boys, and they're both been fixed, but they do not like each other. And so I definitely there has to be boundaries in place. There has to be actual physical barriers in place. And there's kind of like a routine and a schedule because there are so many of them, for one. And for two, the bunnies don't like each other. So there cannot be any mixing or confusion of them together, or they will attack each other. So there's more at stake.
So yeah, I think you have more boundaries with them. And I think you're a little bit quicker to correct their like actions.
Yeah, I guess I kind of saw like what the outcome would look like if I don't now because of Owen.
Because like some of the stuff, like Owen was just biting the carpet, biting this, destroying that, just like whatever. And then like it really got in his head, like if I just do some destructive stuff, then somebody will pay attention to me.
Yeah,
and I feel like at least what I see now, like whenever Ocean, you like nip whatever destructive activity they're doing, you immediately are like, no. Or you like, sort of correct it.
Very true. And then the bunnies now, they're also reactive to me being like, no, they actually like listen and they'll like, I guess I hate to say this, but they like run away. They're like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. Nah, Owen was an attention seeker.
For sure. But I think also too that like Owen only had us to kind of like socialize with, or me really. Yeah. And so these animals that I have now, there's so many of them, is like, go find somebody to play with, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I hear that. Well, okay, what do you think about so what do you think? Did we already answer this question about animals going into stores and stuff? And
yeah, briefly, because I take Lloyd into the store.
So you don't mind it too much?
I don't care. As long as it's like a place that they should be, like a pet store. I don't mind like clothing stores, really. I don't think they should be in grocery stores because I think that like I wouldn't want, fur in my kale, like that's gross. I don't think they should be excuse me, in like classrooms.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's just like, unless it's like obviously like the medical support animals, like that's different. But where else? Definitely not like medical facilities. I've seen people like bring it into medical facilities. I'm like, what are you gonna do with the dog? What are you gonna do? Like, okay, so this is when I was working in the radiology department. Somebody brought their dog in. They were like, ma'am, like, what are you gonna do with the dog? And she's like, well, you just sit in the chair. Ma'am, you have a whole MRI you're about to get. Sit in the chair. I was like, ma'am, please, for the love of God, please stop bringing these animals. And then if that little thing used the bathroom on the floor, like nobody has time for this, please. What else? I think those are like the main places I would not take my dog. Anything professional, let's not do it unless you absolutely need your dog.
Hear that.
But they have areas where you can take your dog. They have dog parks. They have nature walks. Like, those are the areas I think you should take your animal, Like, obviously, I'm taking Lloyd out to get him trained around people, but I don't take him often. I take him most of the time. If I take him, he just kind of rides in the car or whatever because he likes to ride in the car. But he doesn't go in stores very often. We only go in the store if like we're already kind of out and about, and I was taking him for a ride, and I just need to stop somewhere. Or like we're practicing with like, him barking and things like that, or him like his reactiveness to people. But I mean, I don't, obviously that's for practice purposes, but I don't just like, I can probably count on my hands how many times I've done that. Like maybe 5. And he's been in my life for almost 4 years. So I am thinking about training the bunnies to go out in public situations because Ocean doesn't really like to eat when he's like in public situations or like not in his comfort zone. So I am thinking about training the bunnies, but I think I would start by just like riding around the neighborhood and do like quick little trips. So they get immune to that because I do want to, there's some things that I'm thinking and considering which would involve them moving. So yeah.
The bunnies.
Can't go anywhere without my buns. You should see Ozzy right now. He's over here eating his hay profusely. We should definitely make a way to put pictures in there in the beginning, like how I introduced. Find a way to put pictures for the animals that we have pictures for.
Yeah, meet the zoo. I can put them in there. You send me some photographs of them.
Okay.
Take some glamour shots.
Well, none of the pictures we get of them are not glamorous.
You put Ocean's hair in a ponytail.
Oh, yeah. Ocean has long hair. I put it in a ponytail the other day. I think he actually enjoyed it because he could kind of see behind his head.
Oh, really?
I think he did because he like definitely didn't like, he like tried to scratch it out at one point and then he just went on about his business like, oh, this is nice. So
love that for him.
I know, right? Okay, so I have some questions for you. Do you think that animals should have rights?
Yes, they're living beings.
Okay, so what kind of rights?
I think they have souls. I mean, I think they should have the rights to basically the same as human rights. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like,
okay,
I don't see why they shouldn't have they shouldn't face discrimination. They should be able to, well, they can't speak the same language as us, but they should like have free speech, which involves barking for them. Shoot, they already take free speech, and I'm trying to think. I mean, I think they have like rights to healthy, happy homes. Which shoot, they don't even guarantee that human beings some of this stuff. To be honest with you,
facts.
I in an ideal world they would have rights to like medical attention, right to food, but to be honest, when I'm thinking about it, we don't even necessarily always have these rights as human beings. Not in America, we don't have rights to like housing. We don't have a right to medical attention. We don't have a right to basic things, but I would hope that I would like to think animals could have rights to that. But shoot, the way things work now, we might be on the same plane.
Honestly.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would say I can't think of a human right that is just like, nah, animals shouldn't have that. In some capacity, obviously, their capabilities are not the same as ours because they're animals.
Yeah. Very true. But I do agree with you. There should be some basic rights because I think there's a lot of exploitation when it comes to animals, for one. And for two, people don't regard animal life as a life a lot of the times. It's like beneath human life. And I think it's important to realize that just how, a life is a life regardless, right? They're living beings just like we are. And so I think there should be a basic respect for all animals, including bunny, rabbits, cat, dog, turtle, snakes, whatever. So,
yeah,
and I feel like we also all have a role to play in society and or the ecosystem and or the environment, whatever you want to call it. And so, for humans to undermine that, it's just very humanly, Ugh.
Agreed. And I mean, there are definitely like animal rights groups, animal activist groups, but I don't know if it's like in law, like kind of codified in law saying that you have to give basic human respect to animals or basic respect to animals, you know.
Very true.
But yeah, I definitely think they deserve rights, and I think that we got to stop considering them like second class some way. They don't have the same capabilities and faculties as us, but who's to say that theirs is like somehow less important?
Yeah, seriously. I agree with that.
You know, like it's really not. And there are, I mean, we all know about like endangered species acts and stuff, and there are animals that are protected under the law, you know. But I think there's just it's like it's like an act of Congress to get them to be added to the endangered species list, or like, you know what I mean. So there should be a general consensus of like how we treat animals.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Which makes me think: do you think zoos are ethical? Like a zoo where they're kind of keeping animals on display for public consumption and
Yeah.
public
Okay, so
viewing.
I have two things about zoos personally. So zoos, I'm only a fan of zoos if it's helping animals. I don't like the breeding, and I don't like I think it is important to maintain the natural habitat as much as possible, right? But the killer whales kind of thing, that is like so heartbreaking to me because they're in captivity. They are typically miserable when they're in captivity, and then when you put them back out in the wild, they don't go, usually they don't do well back in social situations because they've been pulled away from that social circle that they would normally have in the wild. And that's one of the problems with having social animals, but you can't have 20 killer whales in captivity. So, and then at that, you're exploiting them for their, to provide entertainment to humans. And it's like, if you want to go be entertained, then go be entertained in the Arctic or wherever they're living by Alaska, and put yourself in the water and be their freaking dinner. Okay. So that's entertainment. But I just don't think you should take them out of their homes. So it's like a double-edged sword for me with zoos. If you're going to help the animal and you're going to provide, like say an animal's injury and you can rehabilitate them to hopefully go back in the wild, okay, cool. I'm in support of that. But just for the consumption of humans, like a lot of those animals look miserable. A lot of those animals even look unhealthy. Like they don't even look how they would look in the wild when they're at these zoos. They're usually skinny. They're usually like wasting away, if you will. And so I just feel like that's not. I mean, I don't think like. Would you like to be in the zoo?
Oh, absolutely not.
Exactly.
But I also think there's like conservation. It's like I can imagine they're doing some good because they do rehabilitate some animals.
But majority of the time, a lot of that, the breeding and stuff that they do is they're not putting them back into the wild to repopulate the environment. They're keeping them in captivity. So are you really doing any good?
You're right. Well, yeah, I guess I think the best way to do is like a zoo should only be up and running if the animals that are on display are basically on display as a way to generate funds for conservation efforts. Does it make any sense? Like, okay, we have this team of zoological, like marine biologists, and like I know like off the coast of California, they save otters a lot. So like they save the sea otters who might be orphaned or whatever. So they bring them into like, I don't know, San Diego Zoo or something, or some zoo or aquarium, and they help the baby otter. He like lives there a couple years, but then they release him back to the wild. Like there should be just a continuous cycle of like care, release, care, release, care, release. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I can get. And then if they are on quote display, that money goes to maintaining the facility and conservation efforts. Not like for profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. They had one like that. They had one like that, kind of like in Charleston. They had like a turtle rescue rehabilitation thing where they would bring the turtles in and they would release them after they're rehabilitated, kind of thing. But a majority of those animals don't, and it was at the aquarium, but a majority of those animals, they just don't get to live normal animal lives, you know? Like, obviously, okay, so like my pets that I have now, they just could not go back in the wild. Like Lloyd, Mavis might live, but the rest of them would probably die. Okay. And that's just being honest, because the bunnies that I currently have, they're white, they're albino or partially albino. And they are, there would just be a target on them, right? Like, let's be honest. If there's a bunny in the wild that is born white, like they are, they're probably not going to make it very long, right? Because they're going to stand out. Lloyd, he's probably going to get hit by a car. So, okay, there's that. And yeah, Lloyd doesn't. Lord, he just needs to stay in the house. Mavis will be the only one that I think could survive. Like, she would be hiding in a bush somewhere, but she gonna find something to eat. Period. Mama's not going without eating, so she would live. And she's very like adaptable, so that's the one thing good about Mavis. The rest of these guys, they live very privileged lives. But like, I just think that like, you know, those animals, if you are rehabilitating them, you bring them in to help them and not to keep them and not to like necessarily breed them. And if they do breed them to help the population, they just keep them in captivity. So what good is that doing? That's still going to make them go extinct, isn't it? And then you have like, they're not even naturally breeding because it's not like a situation where they feel the need to breed. So it's just like problematic all around.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I do think there's also something that I think zoo culture really creates is this idea of all animals are here for human consumption. Like all animals, even though we're appreciating, quote, their beauty, they're here for our consumption. So it creates this idea that we should be able to, anything we want to keep around and keep on display for ourselves, we can just put it in a zoo and visit it anytime we want to and then go home, live our human lives. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think it sets up a really dangerous idea that everything is about a human's, it's from a human's viewpoint and a human's ideology. You know what I mean? And because because the animals cannot communicate in the same way that we do, or rather we don't communicate the way they communicate, we establish this faux hierarchy in our mind. Like it's like this power structure, and to me it's like who captured who and who's looking at who. You know what I mean? Versus we all know that the animals typically in zoos are massive creatures who really in the wild humans would pale in comparison. We don't run as fast. We're not as big. We have less adaptive, features to outrun a gorilla or outrun a giraffe, or like we don't. We really, the only thing that has consistently worked for human beings is like, I don't even want to call it intellect. It's not really intellect, but our civilization, our ability to socialize and create collective learning and create groups and create massive social change.
Yeah.
That's what I would say really is a human's adaptive quality. We don't have physical features to outperform any really much, to be honest. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's just really interesting that zoos, now exist, and it reinforces that idea of who's on display. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it becomes this idea
I think you just have to ask
exotic.
yourself the question, like, why would you like to be on display? And like, what are you getting from this?
Exactly. And then it's kind of the idea of like the exotic, or like this like little taste of the other world or other things that we wouldn't normally have access to. Because like, why is a rhino at the San Diego Zoo? Tell you the truth, that's not like a rhino would not naturally be there. It's
The lady, we
unnatural.
were talking at work the other day, and the lady was saying how she went to a zoo somewhere. I think she said Florida or something like that. And like it's hot, like especially in the summer. But she was saying, I think she said she saw a penguin, and she's like said like the thing was like it was some type of animal that should not have a polar bear. And she was saying this polar bear was not even white; it was brown. It was dirty. It was like hyperventilating and breathing really hard. And it's like polar bears don't live in that type of environment. Oh, she said it was in Texas. But like, polar bears don't live in that type of environment. Like the hottest it gets there is 30, 40, and you are living in Texas. Could you imagine?
Seriously.
And like, I'm just like, those animals really should not be there. Let's just be
I agree. And then you also get into the issue of like private zoos, which is holistically unethical to me. I mean, if like state maintained zoos are, or if public zoos are one thing, then private zoos are really, then you get into Tiger King and Carol Baskins, and like that's just holistically unethical to me.
Facts.
But yeah, even I mean public zoos, which are, I think if you're gonna have a zoo, the best form is something like a public zoo, like an organization that really does try to have some ethical conservation effort to it.
Yeah.
But but I mean the nature of it is like, okay, they put good into the world, but the nature itself is sort of unethical because it is a profit making, they're making profit off of animals who don't even understand what's going on. They don't even live by this social system. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think I mean the animals that are being well taken care of, I don't think they complain because they're like, shit, I don't have to fight. I don't have to like fight anybody in the wild, like I'm just getting somebody's handing me food or somebody's giving me a bath, and like maybe from their perspective.
I don't think they see it like that though, just because they don't even know. Like maybe they don't know what they're missing, or like if they're rescued, they're like, where's my family? Where
Yeah, that's true. We will. I mean, the thing is, we really will never know because we cannot communicate with them.
True.
So
you think that like
their actions, but we don't know the emotional depths of like, is that rhino really happy there, or is that giraffe really happy there? We only know what we study about their behaviors. So
very true.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do enjoy going to see the animals. Like they do seem happy and like seem well fed and well taken care of. And I don't want to put down because like the people work very hard at the zoos, and there are people who really do have a great outlook on like animal conservation, and they really do want to do that. And I think they do great work. I just think that, I mean, the nature of it itself is sort of exploitive,
Yeah, true.
Because the animals don't get paid. Like they get food and get taken care of, but that's sort of it,
Very true. So do you think that like, okay, so like we briefly talked about this, but like how do you feel about animal interpreters?
Oh, like people who talk to animals. I like that. Honestly, I think it's like, it sounds crazy and kind of kooky, but like the ones that I've seen online, it's like too accurate to not be real, in my opinion. Because the stuff that the animal says to the human's like, that's exactly what so-and-so does. And why did so-and-so do this? And I'm like, I think it's really just like, they just be vibrating on a different level than us.
Very true.
That's really what I think it is.
Do you think people can communicate to them?
Yeah, I think there are people who can communicate to them.
Okay.
And I think it takes people who like have a very, probably a unique, maybe even a more primal kind of energy, vibe, or a spirit or something that allows them to be able to communicate with the animals.
Very true.
But I mean, a lot of times also just based off behavior, kind of what they're thinking, how they're, you know what I mean? I just think the interpreter puts it in like plain English and maybe gives you a slightly deeper insight.
Very true. Yeah. I really want to like, because I just want to like get in their minds, not get in their minds, obviously, but I just like want to know what they're thinking. Like, do you hate me? Do you like me? Do you like Ocean, which is the bigger bunny? I think he really likes music, but obviously like not for sure because he can't like clearly communicate or anything like that. But he like when you cut on his he likes like jazz, like bossa nova jazz, or really just like calm, soothing music. He likes Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. Today I watched Hairspray and he seemed to really like that too. But he likes like really like just calming music, right? And he likes to sleep to it. And so say if he's like being destructive or whatever, we'll cut his music on and he usually like will calm down, go take a nap kind of thing. So I perceive that to be that like he likes music, right? But you're not really sure. So I really want to like get an animal communicator and like chat it up with the ants, you know?
I think you should. I used to be skeptical of it, but I don't know. I believe in the spirit realm.
Yeah, I do too.
I really do. And it's not some like mystical, like religious thing. It's just like there are like your soul kind of like attempts to communicate with your body or with bodies who are living here on Earth, you know?
True. Very true. So when are you going to get you a pet?
When I get more financially stable.
Got it. Where are you going to get?
I never really saw myself with a cat, but I feel like a cat would be a good starter.
Yeah, I'm like a fan of, I promote cats all day, every day.
I like the idea of a bunny though, just because we grew up with bunnies and I do find them really endearing. But only reason why I won't get a bunny is because
they're high maintenance. I know.
High maintenance. They're sort of toddler-like. You really got to be very attentive to their, changes in their behavior and like they're just very sensitive creatures. So
they are, yeah. You really have to like kind of like be in tune with bunnies because they are animals that like to hide symptoms, and so you would like never know until it's too late. So,
and it's also difficult to find people to like. You can find people to watch a cat or a dog.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to find people who are adept and aware enough to watch a rabbit.
Yeah.
You gotta spell out.
But that's why I'm very like I am very interested in like getting them trained so they can just go with It would be easier if they're bonded to make that happen. Obviously, they're not bonded because they can't stand each other. But it would just make life a lot easier, especially like Lloyd's easy to take wherever we're going. Mavis, she probably would want to stay home and just stay by herself. But the bunnies, is like Courtney said, it is very difficult. Oh my gosh, to find someone that like knows what they're doing with bunnies.
And most people just think like they take care of themselves or something, and it's really the complete opposite. Or people just see them and like, oh, look, a cute little fluff ball.
Yeah,
there's nothing else to it or something.
Because they didn't get it the other day.
Yeah, it's like there's so much more to a rabbit. So
seriously,
I don't take it lightly at all. That's why I don't get animals because I don't take lightly the responsibility of caring for them. So
true.
But yeah, I mean, would you get another bunny? Would you get another animal?
Okay, so I would get another bunny, and this is why. This is the only reason why I would get another pet. I do want like a dog, but like Lloyd's not gonna get along with another dog, so that's done. I would get another cat, but Mavis is not gonna get along with another cat. Ocean. So before we got Ozzy, okay, let me just start it from the beginning. So how we got Ozzy? I had a friend. She decided to get a bunny. Not sure why, but she decided to get a bunny. And as she just kind of came to the conclusion that, it wasn't really for her after a couple of days because bunnies are, like I said, high maintenance animals. And so that's how we ended up with Ozzy. But the initial plan was to get Ocean another bunny friend to bond with because Ocean is very, he really likes socializing. He's pretty awkward. If that makes sense. He's pretty awkward, very standoffish, but he also really likes like cuddling and attention like from a distance. And so we were going to get him a friend, but now we have Ozzy. And so that's just not possible with the space that we're in. So there's no way that we could get another animal in this space, being that the boys don't even live together. So I thought about getting maybe another bunny so that they can both bond to that bunny. And then, obviously all three bond. But I just think like with the space, it just I don't think it would work very well. So I would get another bunny. basically for Ocean, really, because Ocean is very social. Ozzy, which is a baby bunny, the dwarf, he basically, his BFF is the cat. So they have a friendship. But Ocean doesn't really bond with anybody else except for the humans. So the plan was definitely to get him a bunny friend. So if I get a bigger space, I would definitely get him a bunny friend, so that he can have a companion, because everybody pretty much has a companion that wants one. Lloyd doesn't really want a companion. So, he's by himself, but Ocean really wants, I find him all the time. He'll sit by the gate and stand there and wait for people to come and pet him and look for people to walk by. And then he'll get really excited when people come up. He likes to snuggle. So it's kind of heartbreaking to me, because it's that was the plan, and now he's kind of robbed of that because we have Oz. And Oz just doesn't give a fuck. Ozzy's and in this relationship with him and Ocean, Ozzy is the problem. The dwarf is the problem. So there's that. But I do feel really bad for Osh, because he's been slighted just because Ozball is an asshole.
Little Oshie, he wants a friend.
He really does. So
he wants somebody to snuggle with.
He really does. He wants someone to snuggle with and groom every day, because we have a gate, because like I said, the boys can't be together. The bunny boys can't be together. So we have a gate up. And so Ozzy will go to the gate and obnoxiously bite the gate all day. And he's been getting better, actually. He's been calming down quite a bit. But Ocean will sit by the gate and stick his little nose through, because they pretty much broken a hole in it from biting it. He'll stick his little nose through, and he'll try to get Ozzy to give him lovies. We call them lovies, but give him head licks and rubs and stuff like that. But Ozzy refused. Ozzy just continues to nip at him and be mean to him. And it's just so heartbreaking, because Ocean really, 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 really wants a friend. So yeah, that's the spiel of my bunnies. Yeah. Oz is just...
It's really interesting that he's attached to the cat. I mean...
Yeah, but him and the cat just fight all day. So if they're not sleeping, they're fighting.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, because they're both very feisty creatures. So I think that is the perfect duo. They literally just go around. Last night, I had to literally... Mavis which is the cat, and the cat is 10 pounds. Ozzy's maybe 3 pounds. Ozzy's on her behind, biting her, and Mavis is hissing at him. He's still standing there trying to bite her. He was holding his ground. He did not care. Ozzy does not care. I don't think he knows that he's only 3 pounds. Mind you, Mavis can literally Mavis is pretty gentle with him, considering she doesn't normally use her nails or anything when she's hitting him or anything like that. Or when she bites him, she gently bites him. She doesn't kind of like a play cat bite. But when she's getting serious, usually she'll hiss. And Ozzy just doesn't care. He'll just keep biting her.
That's wild. Your animals are a little drama series.
Oh, for sure. Literally a telenovela.
That's wild.
There's always something going on. I'm telling you, don't come to my house unless you want drama, because I'm telling you, the animals are bringing it, period. Right now, obviously, nap time. That's about the calmest point of the day. But Ocean is an early bird, and Ozzy is a night owl, so. And then Lloyd is a grandpa. Mavis is a grandma, so they go to bed early. But Mavis will turn up with Oz every once in a while. Yeah. Mavis will turn up with Oz every once in a while. Okay, so pet names. What are you going to name your pet if you get one?
I'd probably choose from the name of baby names I've been holding on to for a long time.
True. That's fair.
I can't think of anything that I think is just but I also try to let the pet inform me too, maybe a color or kind of a behavior or something,
Agreed.
So
when we first got Ozzy, his name was from his previous owner. His name was Snow, and I was just that is not fitting. So I had to change it.
I like Oz. I think that really fits him very well.
Yeah. And I was nothing about him is cute, soft, cuddly, nothing about him. Nothing. I Snow is nothing. Maybe if his name wasn't Ozzy, maybe he would be nicer. I don't know. Maybe if his name was Snow, he would be nicer. But there's just Snow is not fitting personally. That's my personal
I think
opinion.
it's sort of a cop-out name.
Yeah, agreed.
Because, like, Snow, it's just because he's white.
Yeah.
It's because I'm white.
Yeah. But yeah, they're really cute. We have to put some pictures, like I said. They're really cute, but they are a handful. So bunnies, don't suggest. Cat,
Unless you're
high
prepared.
on the list because cats are self-sufficient.
Yes.
And a cat, you can honestly leave by itself and be
That's
okay.
true. I just never saw myself as a cat person because, like, something about them.
I agree. Like, I agree. Cats are a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever seen the Sour Patch Dog commercials? That's what you get when you get a cat. It's sweet and then sour, or sour then sweet.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on the relationship that you have with a cat too. Like, for the most part, Mavis doesn't really bother me. You know, like she doesn't really want anything to do with me until it's time to go to bed. She likes to snuggle at night, so she like snuggles. But for the most part, she just does her own thing. Like she's one of those cats that just really likes to just do her thing, you know?
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate that. And if she wants to play, she'll come and play with Oz. Luckily, we have like a friend for her, you know? So they're not like relying on us for while they're playing or anything like that. Lloyd's like the only one that like heavily relies on us for playing because Lloyd doesn't really like any of the other animals. But Lloyd comes from like a similar situation as Owen, where like Owen was by himself for a very long time. Lloyd was by himself for a very long time. The other pets have always had somebody else around, so they're very familiar with like other animals and whatnot.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I think that's, you know what? Then I guess it doesn't really. It's like you got a system, though.
Yeah.
You got a lot. You definitely have like a way of you care for your animals, but there's also like a little community you built with them.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of have to because there's so many. Like I said, there's only 2 adults in here, humans, and there's 4 of them, so definitely outnumbered. I will say it definitely gets exhausting and it definitely gets pricey. So, I have found that like stocking up and stuff, especially when you have like the spinning animals, you just have to like stock up and get things when they're on sale. So.
Have you considered getting a
bird? Yes.
A bird. Maybe a bird would be more my speed.
I want a bird. Or have you ever sseen? I'm gonna send a link to you later. But have you ever seen Peabody, the mini horse?
No.
Peabody is so cute. I'm gonna send it to you. And then they also have like those little the goats. Oh, to die for. Oh, you're taking your social media break, so I guess we shouldn't send it to you.
Yeah, I like the bird Sweet Pea. Found him on TikTok, but the little bird just repeats all these little sayings that he's a parrot, a gray parrot or something.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's kind of our discussion on pets, domesticated animals. We talked a little bit about the ethics of a zoo, if we think they're ethical, and conservation. I'd like to actually, at some point, probably do a follow-up on, like, environmentalism.
Okay.
At some point where we can discuss not so much domestic animals, but just, like, animal species and, like, what's being done to conserve species in the wildlife, as well as to maintain, our lovely earth that we all have the privilege of living on. So yeah, maybe that's something we can put down in the works. It's like kind of a part 2 where we're not talking so much about our companions, but wildlife,
That'll be fun.
Because they're important as well. So I feel like in some ways there's more protections for wildlife, or there's more like government regulations around wildlife than domestic animals. But so yeah, that's our conversation. Anything else you wanted to say?
No, yeah, get you an animal if you can take care of it, because they're expensive. And look out for the pics of my zoo. Welcome to the Catelyn Zoo.
Welcome to the jungle. That's
pretty cute. So Ozzy's over here bobbing and weaving as he sleeps.
Little cuties.
He's tired. This is a bunny nap time between the hours of like 11 until like 6. The animals are knocked.
That's a good chunk of the day.
Yeah. Pretty much. At night, in the morning, they're lit. That's usually when they get fed and stuff, though. So they're like annoying during those hours. But yeah, thanks for watching, or excuse me, listening, watching and listening, whichever one you decide. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye, everybody.